The Archbishop of Canterbury, who I actually hold in very high regard, was speaking about immigration yesterday and saying that the policy of sending people to Rwanda was immoral. Now, we need to make the case for why conservatism is, in fact, moral and good. In my view, sending people to Rwanda is moral and good because it breaks the stranglehold of people traffickers on an illegal trade that is risking people's lives coming across the channel. That seems to me a morally good thing to do. And it requires action to be taken to deter people from coming. And the best way of doing that we have been able to come up with is to send them to Rwanda. And actually Australia did something similar and reduced the number of deaths of people trying to get to Australia. Because you had people coming in leaky boats and all sorts of terrible things.
Large numbers of deaths.
Large numbers of deaths. And those stopped. Now, surely that is moral. And Conservatives shouldn't be frightened of making the moral case when the left is making the moral case against us.
I think you raised two really interesting points there that I feel people on the centre and the centre-right are not as good at as people from the left. The first is make the case, build a constituency. I hear some of those who have followed me saying, John, there's no constituency for economic reform or for tax reform or for debt reduction. I don't know if there ever was. You've got to go out and build it. You've got to make the case. And then the second point that I think you raise is that the left is extraordinarily good at prefacing every policy, prescription or pronouncement with a moral statement. They go to the heart first and then try, if they ever do, to reach the head, whereas centre-right people tend to be cold, analytical, this is the way we'll do it because this is the way to get a sweet set of numbers. We've got to, I think, if it's an economic argument, for example, state the moral case. Good economics is good outcomes for people. And we're not very good at it.
Completely agree with you. You have to make the case. It's very interesting. You all know this better than I do. But I believe not that many years ago, Australia was thinking about introducing identity cards. And opinion polls showed something like 80% of people were in favour of identity cards. The case was then made against identity cards, at which point about 80% of people were against identity cards. And one should make the case and not be too influenced by opinion polls. If I say to you, would you like more taxes to fund the NHS? You probably won't, but most people say yes, because why, it's a good and nice thing to do. When I come to you and say, okay, can I have an extra 5% of your income? You say, no, why should I give you that? And you've got to think through what people mean in opinion polls and whether they are just saying something that they think sounds good and nice to the person they're talking to, or whether they absolutely believe and understand the case. And Conservatives need to make the case better, and we need to show that actually our well thought through prescriptions are more caring and better for society as a whole than the Labour Party is wearing its heart on its sleeve. In the Westminster system, Parliament can legislate on absolutely anything that it wishes to legislate on. But that doesn't mean that all its legislation will be legitimate. And this is actually the argument that Henry VIII found himself in with Thomas More. Thomas More was saying that there is a natural law and that Parliament cannot override this natural law. And I think that must be true, that there must be limits even to what a democratic Parliament can vote for. It can't abolish the family, for example, even though the state has always been in competition with the family, because the family is a power block, the greatest power block against the state. It's why the state is to some extent jealous of the family. So I think there are overriding principles that you can't change by statute law. Moral relativism, I suppose the problem is it's all relative to what you mean, isn't it? That what you're trying to get at with moral relativism, are there no absolutes? Are there no fundamentals? And I think there are some fundamentals, and I think one of them is life.